You're listening to a podcast appearing on the Two Guys Talking Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Green Gab Podcast, a place to gab with people rocking it in green. Green homes, green living, green companies. Join Marla Esser Cloos, the green home coach and author of Living Green Effortlessly, Simple Choices to a Better Home, and Tony Pratt, the Director of Builder Relations at The Sound Room. Here are your hosts, Marla and Tony.
Marla, you're gabbing today with you, Tony. We can record and talk about what's going on right now and what's happening in our lives, but it gets to stay out there. That's a beautiful thing about these being evergreen.
Well, not only that, we get to record, and then as it gets played, we can see how that jives with what's really going on out in the world, too.
Wow. That's kind of a heady statement.
I know. We're being a little philosophical.
Okay, so for our listeners, just so you can kind of put this in perspective, there's been a lot of change, the general climate around us, and actually we're going to tie that into our guest who is in Washington, D.C., so I'm sure she has an even more interesting perspective than we do.
She gets to understand a lot of the drain the swamp talk, I'm guessing.
Well, there you go. Hello, Michelle. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you very much for having me today.
And why don't you introduce yourself so everybody knows who our wonderful Washington, D.C. guest is today? Actually, you're in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., so I should be in full disclosure here.
I am. I am actually in beautiful Upper Marlboro, Maryland, which is about 30 miles due east of our nation's capital. My name is Michelle Foster. I'm Vice President of Innovation Services at Home Innovation Research Labs, and it's great to be here today.
Well, we're so glad to have you. Well, I've known you for quite a while, and I guess Tony's known you for a few years.
Yeah, and really, you've had a lot more interactions with Michelle than I have, but I've got to listen to Michelle speak at our local HBA chapter about some of the green programs that they help to manage, and I've found her to be a wealth of knowledge, so I'm very excited for you to come in and share what you know with our listeners.
Me
Yeah,
too.
my pleasure, and that's one of my favorite things to do is, when people ask me what I do, I like to say that I help builders understand how to build a green home, and so certainly that ability to be able to go around the country and meet different builders is one of my favorite parts of my job.
Well, excellent.
And you've actually done quite a bit of work, not only working inside of the builder industry, but also different professions inside that aren't just builders. I know you've spent a lot of time with architects, probably some other groups I'm missing.
I'm guessing like interior designers too?
A little bit, but more importantly, in some ways, a financial community. So I spent about 8 years working at Fannie Mae. So let me tell you how I sort of ended up in this.
That's a great idea.
Sort of an interesting kind of path. I grew up as an only child of a single mom. And when I was little, we always rented our house. We never owned our own house. And I tortured my mother incessantly about how important it was for us to buy a home. I thought that was really very important. And then I really didn't think about it too much. I went off to college and studied environmental policy and sort of came back and started working and sort of almost fell accidentally into housing. I was in New York City and I started working on homeless housing actually, and sort of the intersection of providing people with an affordable place to live, but at the same time mitigating those environmental impacts that housing development had. And as I got older and sort of more entrenched into the political and the social and the environmental issues, one of the things that I really became interested in is to figure out how can we design and build and promote more sustainable housing, but in a way that's not only affordable and desirable for the people who want to live there, but also in a way that the market was really looking to do it. So not by a mandate or a regulation or a legislation, but really trying to transform the market and have it happen. And so in a number of different places in my career, that's what I've been trying to work on. How do we change the market so that we kind of have this sort of little bit of a revolution in building and creating and designing better housing, but that's also affordable and a place that people want to live.
Sounds like words I've heard from other organizations like Habitat.
Yep. Well,
not affordable, not necessarily cheap.
And we've also said this, many times, when you can have an organic paradigm shift like that instead of something driven by the government, it's going to take hold a little bit stronger and people are going to embrace it a lot more. At least in my mind, they are.
Yeah, and when you really look at the transactional process for real estate, there are some legitimately difficult barriers to overcome. So, for example, let's say you're going to go buy a house and you have to qualify for a mortgage and show what your income is going to be. And what they're doing essentially is qualifying you as a buyer for a particular house and how much that house costs. And they're trying to figure out, on the income that you make, can you afford the mortgage on that house and kind of the other expected expenses that you might have. But never in that process does anybody say, well, if I buy, an older home that's quite inefficient with regard to energy and water use, my utilities are going to be really expensive. So in addition to my mortgage payment, my taxes, I'm going to have a fairly large utility bill. Or I could purchase a newer home that's high-performing and green and spend almost nothing on my utilities. What's kind of the bigger, better bang for my buck, right? Where am I investing my money better? And because we don't take into account those kind of issues, there becomes a barrier to sort of promoting greener, more efficient housing. So kind of eliminating that and trying to include that in the process, I think, can help people realize the importance of considering those things in the real estate buying process and picking out a home.
Right, and we don't do a good job of that. And I think we just bought a house, and we went through that exact same exercise, looking at a house that it was about 11 years old versus a brand new home that was built to energy efficient standards. It wasn't necessarily holistically green. But when we ran the numbers, the higher priced home, the newer energy efficient home with the certification, ended up being less for our monthly payments when we put everything on the table. I mean, it's happening in reality. And
what a better
way
investment.
To look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and what a better investment for your money. Instead of spending $200, say, a month on utilities, that is really just kind of lost money, investing that back into your house that now is an asset you have.
I'm all in favor of that, but then again.
Well, I think most people would be. And I do know, at least in St. Louis, we do have a couple of the banks that do promote the green mortgages, and they are very good at explaining that. But once again, it's still a niche in the market. It's not something they promote to the general public. It's more if they have a builder that has a reputation for building a green project.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. It is fairly unusual for that to be discussed during the home buying process. Buying a home is such an emotional, big decision. Yeah. And there's a lot of things to consider. And so we just want to make sure that home buyers are really thinking very holistically about where are they going to be most comfortable, what's going to be the smartest investment for them, and what's going to really make them happiest going forward.
There you go. So how did you end up where you are now at Home Innovations?
I worked for, as I mentioned, a number of years at Fannie Mae. There, I helped develop a smart commute mortgage, which helped incentivize people living near transit and recognizing that if they lived near the bus or the metro, they could save lots of money right on commuting expenses, as well as helped to revamp the energy-efficient mortgage, which you were just mentioning, which recognizes living in an energy-efficient home. And then, as you know, the housing market really took a turn for the worse. The appetite, an understatement is true. And so the appetite for doing what I don't think was any riskier proposition from a mortgage perspective, really just dropped off. They had to figure out how to kind of take control of the housing market again. So I worked for a little while in the federal government and then had an opportunity to come here and manage a brand new green certification program for housing, where we would be looking to having single-family builders and multifamily apartment buildings come through the process and being certified, actually getting a designation that they were green according to the National Green Building Standard. And it was just an opportunity I couldn't turn down because, again, this opportunity to be part of this voluntary program to really recognize and support exceptional design and construction of residential buildings.
It has grown tremendously since we got it out there. When we start, 2008 was the first certification standard, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, so we started just about the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, and then when I last looked, we were just over 91,000 homes certified. That's single-family homes and apartment units across the country.
Wait. So 91,000?
Yes.
Because when I wrote a proposal less than a month ago, it was like 85,000.
Yes, in fact, it's 91,421 as of this minute, but it changes every minute, hopefully.
But that's incredible. That's like 6,000 units and homes in a month.
Yeah, but when you think it's across the country.
Still, that's awesome.
But that's great. That's what we want.
That's awesome. I want it more.
Baby steps.
Yeah, it is really exciting. And again, it's a voluntary program, right? Nobody is making these builders and developers do it. They're finding value on their own to do it. And that's what I love about it. Because they, for lots of them, it's about showing that they really can build a superior, higher performing product, whether it's the house or the apartment building, than their competitors.
And therein lies the key. Hey, let's take a quick break and dig into that a little more when we come back.
Your cell phone currently costs hundreds of dollars. Are you satisfied with having just a plain black brick in your hand? Of course you're not. Be sure to check out the newest, hottest details, accessories, and add-ons you can have for your cell phone at decalgirl.com. With tens of thousands of overlays, stickers, doodads, and accoutrements, you'll find what you need right now for your cell phone or device at decalgirl.com.
Hi, this is Art Maines from Scammercast.com, where we educate, inform, and protect our elders and those who care for them on the Two Guys Talking podcast network.
Wouldn't it be cool if your advertising could last forever? It can with perpetual advertising. Here's how it works. Unlike TV or radio ads, where every instance the ads are broadcast, they're only played once and lost forever. Perpetual advertising could have repeat exposure and replayability weeks, months, and even years after they're inserted in a podcast. So even if a podcast is a few years old, your ads will still be impactful to repeat listeners, as well as new listeners. This gives your advertising dollar the most bang for the buck. Find out more about perpetual advertising at twoguystalking.com/sponsors.
Back gabbing with Michelle and hearing about how Tony is Billy the Kid. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at you. I'm trying to figure out why would you even bring that up?
Because it gives you a reason to laugh, and I like to hear you laugh.
I don't need a reason to laugh. I'm always going to laugh.
This is true. You do laugh a lot.
That's because I'm a happy person in general.
You are a happy person. I like that. That's why I'm hanging out with you.
That's why the chemistry here works.
Michelle, we don't ever laugh, do we?
No.
So I've been very blessed to know you for, a while. I guess since 2010. And
yes, it has been that long. We don't even need wine to laugh.
I know, we don't.
Try having a podcast with her.
When we were at the Builder Show last year, we were attempting to go to a reception, not realizing they were filming a movie in downtown Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah, that was the latest Bourne movie.
Yeah. So we sat in an Uber for an hour going, 3 miles?
A Prius Uber, though.
Well,
it was a Prius Uber.
I stood there.
For the record.
Did you watch it when it was being filmed?
No, we could never get close.
All right, so it was right outside the hotel when we were staying at Paris. And the funny thing was, I watched them film one night, and then I went and saw the movie, and I laughed because they had this high-speed chase at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour down the strip that went on for 10 or 15 minutes. And we all know the strip's not that big.
Right.
Because they would zip, they would drive forward, film, back up, drive forward, back up, drive forward. And I'm just watching this on the screen going, oh my God, they've suspended reality and increased the length of the strip by like 8 miles.
Welcome to movie magic.
Yeah, it was so funny to actually watch it being filmed and see it on the big screen.
I don't think I realized why we were stuck for so long, for like another day or two.
Well, didn't you get the little notice in the hotel rooms?
No.
Because in our hotel room, they told us they were filming a movie. They didn't say what it was. They told us there wouldn't be any main actors or anything like that, but they were doing all the stunt work.
I was down in the hotel attached to the convention center, so I guess they figured I didn't need to know that.
Yeah, I mean, it was right outside. Explosions in the middle of the night and everything. It was great.
Well, Michelle, we had a great time in the Uber, didn't we?
Yes, we did, actually.
I do think that's the most expensive Uber ride I've ever taken, though, because they charged us by the minute. Thank you, Uber, for a great meeting.
There you go.
Oh, fun times.
That's a unique use of Uber. It
was. But you and I needed about an hour together to catch up, so it did work.
We should have just brought refreshments.
That would have been smart.
Yes. Probably illegal, but smart.
Well, you weren't driving.
True. It is
That's
Las
true.
Vegas.
Yeah, as long as you weren't driving, you're fine.
At any rate. So back to green homes. You now have been working with the National Green Building Standard, which is the green home certification program that y'all, it's not support, what's the right word to say?
Kind of administer certification
Administer.
over.
There you go. There you go. Finding my vocabulary today. I'm just blown away that we're going to hit 100,000 before too long.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited. We're going to try to have a big celebration for the 100,000th home. So we're anticipating that will be within the next month or so.
I was going to say that should be before the Builders Show.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So for our listeners, the National Association of Home Builders hosts its annual conference and expo, usually in January, February, and that's the Builders Show we're referring to. It's also the one we got stuck in the Uber at last year in Las Vegas. It will be in Orlando this January, the Builders Show. So if you're listening to this and the Builders Show has occurred, we sure hope we had a lot of fun.
I'm sure we will.
But that's so exciting. I can't wait to be a part, to hear what all happens with that celebration. Tell us a little bit more about why certification of a home, and especially a green home certification, is, what does it mean to the homeowners and the residents, the people that live there and that experience the benefits of that certification?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The first thing is that we use the National Green Building Standard, as you mentioned, to certify our homes and multifamily buildings as compliance towards. And the reason that's important is this was a standard that essentially defines what a green home is, put together by a whole committee of experts that represent all of the industry, including federal agencies such as the U.S. Department of Energy and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, environmental organizations, code officials, building science experts, builders as well who have expertise to they come together and they essentially write what they think based on current industry practice, prevailing building codes across the country, emerging technology and products, what it would mean to be a green home or a green multifamily building.
Okay.
That sets what the standard is, and that sets what we would judge a home or a multifamily building as in compliance with. And then what's important about having a third-party certified home means that you're not just taking any builder's word that the home is green or not green or includes the features. It actually has someone who is an independent third party coming into the house, and we do 100% independent third party verification. So what that means is for every single home that is seeking to be NGBS Green, National Green Building Standard certified, you would have an independent third party coming into that house before the drywall is installed so that they can see everything that's behind the walls and inside the walls, the plumbing, the electrical system, how the insulation is installed, and visually confirming that any of the green practices that the builder was claiming credit for are actually installed and installed correctly. And they must visually inspect every single practice. And then they would come back again when the house is complete and do the final inspection for everything else that was done after the rough inspection happened. So you really have that absolute confirmation that that building or that house was built in compliance and is green. And this is really important. You know, one of the things we hear, we have a nationwide verification field staff of about 230. And they tell us frequently, you know, one of the most common issues that they see when they do their inspections is that insulation is not installed correctly.
Yeah.
That's a
right?
shocker.
I mean, I'm sure you've, both seen this before, and it's not done intentionally. It could be that the insulation contractor came in, installed the insulation, and then the electrician comes in and he wants to put his wires in. So what does he do? He wants to just kind of get in and out as quickly as possible, and he just wishes all the insulation out of his way so that he can do his own job. For an NGBS Green Certified home, that wouldn't be okay. The verifier would have to make sure that the insulation was installed correctly. So you've got that twice inspected verification and validation that that home is certified and that you can be sure that that's the case.
So what does that really mean to the homeowner or the resident, the people living in that home?
What it means is that they can be certain that the house that they are buying or the multifamily building that they're going to be living in, that apartment, everything has been installed correctly. It has been built in compliance with the high-performing features or the energy-efficient equipment that was supposed to be installed. It helps ensure that they'll have lower utility bills, whether it be that they're saving money on water because they have lower water consumption or energy. It can help the home or the apartment be much more comfortable because from an insulation perspective, it's insulated better, that it's air sealed better, that it's not leaky or it's not cold and hot spots in the building. And then just have that actual certification, that house. So if you were going to purchase a house and when you were going to sell that house, say a couple of years later, if you were going to move up to another house, you have that proof that your house was NGBS Green compliant, and you have that proof of certification that you can use in the resale process.
Some parts of the country have documented that they're getting a pretty decent amount of a improvement in the resale value.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely true. There have been a number of studies nationwide in different markets that have shown that houses with a green certification either sell faster or sell for more money than other non-certified houses of similar size and price on the market. So that's been really affirming that consumer can recognize that they're getting that value for the house later down the process.
So that's just one of the many benefits of living in a green home. I know the other one we hear a lot of folks talking about right now is the health benefits of living in a home that you know the quality is assured and the pieces have been put together correctly so that they typically don't experience the side effects of poor workmanship or not double-checked workmanship. I don't think anybody out there intentionally wants to really do shoddy workmanship, but
it's construction.
Sometimes
Things
it happens.
happen.
Yeah, definitely. So we say really that the reasons that you would be interested in buying or renting a green certified home is that, just like you said, it's a healthier home. NGBS Green Homes are designed and constructed either with systems or products that produce fewer pollutants and help maintain proper ventilation in the house so that you can have cleaner indoor air. A number of the practices are also designed to make sure that moisture is managed appropriately in the house and that the house doesn't have either too little or too much moisture, which is very important. Second thing that we started talking about earlier was that it's a smarter investment. So not only do you have, as you mentioned just previously, the potential for increased resale value, but the entire time that you're living in the house, you have lower utility bills. There are also lots of practices in the standard that deal with durability and maintenance so that the homes are designed to require less maintenance and be more durable in the long run. And all of those help a home buyer, a homeowner, build their equity faster in their home. And then the last thing that I would say is just kind of on that happiness note. We know that,
I like that,
right? You want to be happy. It's your house, right? You want to be happier in your house. And we know that NGBS Green Certified homes are more comfortable because they've been designed to not have hot and cold spots. We know that they've been designed to be in good locations that are convenient to other services and often transit, that the landscape has been considered as part of the planning process. And last, that you have that peace of mind for a lot of the other things that we talked about with regard to not worrying about moisture, having lower utility bills, and a better resale value. So I think that's really why people should be interested in looking for a NGBS Green Certified home.
Well, when we come back, I'm going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, let's talk about how we help people find those resources so they can be a part of this too.
Things in 1982 were a lot more simple. BMX bikes, the Versailles apartment complex in Schaumburg, Illinois, the sweet, innocent kiss of Andrea Schaefer, and of course, a little film from a man named Steven Spielberg called E.T. Science fiction, the detail of a broken but still together family, the relationships that were made when you were 12, ones that are never again truly realized. It seems a lot heavier than most remember, but all of these things and more await you in the Two Guys Talking perspective review of Steven Spielberg's E.T. 1982 on the Two Guys Talking podcast network. Check it out now at twoguystalking.com. That's the number 2, guystalking.com.
Gabbing Green Certified Homes today with Michelle Foster. And we so appreciate you laughing and gabbing with us today, Michelle.
No, I'm happy to be here.
You're a good sport.
It's always the offline little jokes that get us really going,
Yes.
I think.
That's the bonus material for 2017.
Outtakes.
Outtakes, deleted scenes, you name it.
Oh, no, I'm glad this is just audio and not video.
Oh, trust me, we've talked about the cameras. We need the hidden cameras because if we could put some of this out on the air, we probably could retire just on the comedic value
We'd go
alone.
viral.
Well, maybe we should do it then.
I'm not ready for that yet.
There we go, Michelle. The fun in green homes, right? We need to have like the green home follies or something.
You put the fun in sustainability.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There we go. A new effort for us to pursue. Oh goodness. So as we all know, sitting here, green homes are near and dear to all of our hearts, or we wouldn't be here gabbing about green stuff, would we?
I didn't have a choice.
You never have a choice. And I know, Michelle, and I know you run into this too sometimes. And when anything starts with the word green or has the word green in it, we tend to get one reaction on one side that's like, oh my gosh, that's going to be really crazy stuff. And then we get this other reaction on the other side that's like, oh, that's going to be all this cool stuff.
Right.
And I know you run into both. We do too. But I do know, and I see so many reports supporting this, and so much of the different information I read supports this. People are really increasingly interested in green. And there's a whole lot of reasons for it. We're seeing a whole lot of rationale, but I think a lot of it is people are understanding that their homes contribute to their health and well-being, and that a green home is a quality home that can help them pursue those goals for their personal well-being. What else are you seeing?
Yeah, I think absolutely right. We spend a lot of time indoors, and our home is sort of our refuge. So it's to really be a place that's comfortable, and it allows us to have that healthier lifestyle, and it supports our needs by having fresh air and great ventilation. And I think whether you call it green or something else, it's just a better place to be.
I like
green
that.
homes are just a better place to call home.
I like that. Have you had a tagline that yet?
We have.
Good. Thank goodness.
If not, you better do it now.
I was going to say, surely I've read that somewhere. Too many things to read. Homeowner, resident, how do they go find out more? How do they find out how to build or remodel their own green home? Or maybe someone is looking for an apartment that's been certified green.
We set up a brand new website. It's only been up for a couple of months now, called NGBS.com. And this was really designed to be a consumer source of information to either find a green home that you might want to buy, or to find an apartment that you'd want to rent, or to find a remodel. If you were living in a house now and weren't willing to or wanting to move to a new house, remodel that to be greener. And we've made it pretty much as simple as possible. So you would go to ngbs.com, and very quickly what you'd see in front of you is 3 choices. I want to buy, rent, or remodel. So let's say you are a prospective home buyer. You would click the buy button, and that would take you to the choice of where are you looking to move. So you could say, for example, you were looking to move to, say, North Carolina, and then you can click Find Your Green Home. And what you would do is you would get a listing of all the builders that have been participating into the program. Now, you can narrow that down further and say, not only do I want to be North Carolina, but I want to be in, let's say, Raleigh or Durham. And you can click whichever locations within that state that you might want to be. And you would get a list of the builders who are building in that state and have certified homes to the National Green Building Standard. And then what you can do from there is take a look at the listings, see what's there, what you may find attractive. There's lots of photos that the builders have been able to put up. You can click on the builder's website so that you can find out more about the builders. And you can even send the builder a note that says, I'm interested in finding out some more information. I'm looking to buy an NGBS Green Certified home. I saw your company listed. Could you send me some more information? So really kind of very quick and easy to get connected with those builders who are building and certifying their homes as NGBS Green. And the same thing if you were looking to rent an apartment. When you come to that front page on ngbs.com, you would click rent. You would put the location. So in this case, I might pick that I wanted to rent an apartment in Maryland. And what it's going to do is, in this case, rather than listing by builder, it's going to list all the apartment communities in Maryland that are either certified or in process of being certifications because they could be under construction. Take a look at different ones that you might find particularly interesting or that you're interested in, see how many apartments there are, look at the pictures, and then you can do one of two things. Either you can click their link to go directly to their leasing website, or again, send an email to the leasing agent and say, I saw your apartment on ngbs.com. Could you send me some more information?
And I would guess the more people that we get to connect with builders, remodelers, and multifamily properties through this tool, the more it's going to encourage more people to be a part of it. At least I would
Absolutely.
hope.
Yep. And one of the other features we built into this was, let's say for some reason that we're getting lots of buyers in Bozeman, Montana who are looking for a green home, but we don't have any builders there yet that are building NGBS Green Certified homes. What it would allow us to do is get some information and try to contact some builders in Bozeman, for example, or wherever the location would be, and say, hey, did you know we've got lots of people that are looking for NGBS Green Certified homes? There's a market here that you might not have realized is there.
Smart.
And hopefully recruit more people so that they can, more builders, so that they can start building what people are really looking for.
I love that idea of using it that way. I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
That is great.
I think there is so much untapped interest that people don't know. They don't know what to call it, that they don't know how to go express it to people. And if you get into the building or the remodeling process and you haven't put out there what's really important to you, you kind of get stuck going through the process and don't get to affect it the way you may want to.
Well, and also if you have a builder that's been doing things a certain way for so long, and he's disconnected from what the demand really is, once you tell him, hey, here's 40 people that want this type of house, can you help them out? I can't see how he wouldn't not want to build that green home.
Good point.
And what I would recommend, if there's prospective home buyers in the audience or prospective renters, what I would do is encourage you to go and look at least one NGBS Green Certified home or one NGBS Green Certified apartment building and get the list of features that they offer. And take that as you go to other houses that you may be looking at, whether they're new or existing or other apartment buildings, and ask that builder or leasing agent to see how does that building compare? What are the features that were in that NGBS Green Certified home that just might not be in that other home that's not getting certified? You can do a point-by-point comparison as to lots of the features and the benefits, whether or not they have energy-efficient appliances and equipment, how they've taken into account ventilation needs, how they've managed moisture, really the whole list. And that's a great sort of shopping tool to have from comparison shopping for what's likely to be one of the bigger decisions you'll make in your life.
Yeah, very much so. Well, and I know that's so much of it. A home is so complex as it is. So the more we can help the builders and the industry to talk in language that homeowners and residents can really understand and they can work with, I think the easier it's going to be for all of us to up-level and do it in a way that's going to be better for everyone.
Yeah, because even whether it's a green home or not, building technology today is so much different than it was 5 years ago and 10 years ago. The one positive thing about the recession that we went through was it did change the paradigm of how a lot of houses are built.
Yeah, I would agree. Because green building and green homes just really didn't decline much during the recession, if I recall correctly.
No, it didn't. In fact, it really increased because it was a way that people found additional value. But, you made such an important point because we forget that home building construction really has changed. If you drive down a neighborhood built in the 50s and you drive down a brand new neighborhood, they do look pretty much the same from the outside. right? It's not really that different looking. It's like what's on the inside that's really changed.
Yep.
Right? And
Yep.
and you don't want to forget that, because again, it can really, this is someplace where you want to relax and not have to worry and be more comfortable, and what's on the inside can really make a difference.
Well, and those choices pay off. In my own home, in our home that we've just purchased, so many of the things that we have chosen and so many of the practices that we are putting into place or that have been put in place by our builder were because we wanted a more convenient, less maintenance, less hassle living environment and a lifestyle. And we may be working a little bit now to get things set. So for instance, our landscape, we're having to do some to get it set. But once it's going, it's going to be pretty
done.
Carefree. Yeah.
You're done.
And the best part
Well,
is
and here's-
oftentimes it's a multiple benefit. So
And here's the thing that I find, you've just validated what I'm going to say. Here's what I find so interesting. The typical wisdom is that the millennials, the younger renters and buyers, are really interested in green, and they are.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying that they're not. But what we starting or seeing in some of the market research is that the easiest sell for green and sustainable housing, the older buyers.
the baby
And
boomers.
you know why?
Because they
they've
don't want to
had
deal with the
experience.
maintenance. Yep.
Yes, right. They have been in that crappy, can I say crappy?
You can say crappy.
They've been right in that crappy house with that really cold room or that miserably hot room,
Yep.
and that house that's taken a ton of maintenance, and every weekend they have to do something or the other, and they just don't want to do it anymore. And so lots of builders are reporting when we do market research that almost the easiest sell are home buyers who have had lots of experience with previous homes that have not been so great.
We know
Right?
what we don't
the
want.
easiest sell.
Yeah. Well,
Don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
And so while the younger buyers are definitely interested in greener homes that are more sustainable, in some ways they're not doing it. They're doing it more from a selfless perspective because they think it's the right thing to do, and they really do care about the environment, but they also haven't had to deal with that, stuff you don't want to have to deal with anymore.
Well, and that's why we always talk about green homes being a better built home, because you have the less maintenance involved.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It all ties in.
Yep.
It definitely does. Well, there you have it, folks. Green homes are a better home.
Green homes are a smarter home.
Come on,
And
Michelle.
a better investment.
There you go. It's like we need the third one here. Well, Michelle, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the Green Gab today. And we just are so excited to have every opportunity we can to serve people out there and understanding how a green home can truly make your life better and letting people know what that means. So we really appreciate you being a part of that, and thank you for all the great work you do and continue to do.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I hope that your listeners will go to ngbs.com, check out the offerings we have there, and if you did ever have a question for me in the future, you can contact me through that website.
Great. And we'll put all that up on the podcast notes as well.
That would be great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michelle.
And
Thank you.
Signing off the Green Gab. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Green Gab Podcast, and for joining us on our own personal Green Odyssey as we change the world one Green Gab podcast at a time. What did you learn about during this episode? Tell us now by visiting our website at greengabpodcast.com. And remember to connect with us via iTunes, Facebook, and Twitter. Links to do all of this are at our website, greengabpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, but more importantly, thanks for rocking it in green.